mindful of a little bit of poetry by a fellow. He was a left-handed guitar player, and his name was Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix, in one of his songs, wrote, "Golden rose of colors, like a dream I had not too long ago. Misty blue and violets too, the colors came in golden rose." And today, as we anticipate Thanksgiving Day tomorrow, I am aware of the change in color that nature is undergoing just now. I am aware that all of the living things that we have tended in our gardens, that have been growing in our backyards, that we have appreciated on our journeys to the lakes and to the seaside, all these things are now moving through the cycle of life from vibrance into a time of dormancy. I love the golden leaves. I love watching them first appear. I notice in our neighborhood which tree is the first one to go. I do not particularly care for the fact that in Manitoba this sometimes happens overnight because it goes quickly, the autumn. But the signs of change are welcome to me, and I trust that they are welcome to you. And in the same way that I give thanks for the summer, I give thanks for the winter. I've always enjoyed both seasons and the transitions between them. I love nothing better than a hot summer's day going for a long walk, seeing how many smiles I can get out of chance encounters as I walk. I love doing the exact same thing in the middle of winter. In the summer I have to face the heat. In the winter, I have to face the cold, but I recognize that there's something in me adequate to both. Now, I'm saying this to you here because I'm a preacher. If you would have seen me on the first chilly day wimping out because of the shivering that was going on, you might doubt my words. But I do like the contrast of seasons that we enjoy here in the prairie. Today I wanted to express gratitude, not just for nature, the world that I live in, but I want to express gratitude for my opportunity to be a member of this community. I'm thinking back now, it's already been almost 3 years when we first returned, and we were welcomed. In fact, we were welcomed with open arms, and we were affirmed, and we were encouraged to believe that we had something to offer. I have appreciated getting to know just about each and every one of you in some small or large way, and I value what it is that I hear you doing and see you doing in the community. I think of the persons who work in various social agencies here, the differences that they are making. I think of persons who are involved with church work. I think of persons who are involved with community work. I think of the persons who give themselves to take care of our membership roll or our finances. I think of the persons who provide music for us on Sunday mornings. Every single one of you in some way bringing forward the gift of life that God has put in you to share with others. Some of you are so talented at being welcoming and accepting. Some of you are so talented at noticing when something could be done for another person that is simple and yet meaningful. I love the season of Thanksgiving. I have tried to cultivate that spirit of gratitude in every day. I do encourage you to wake up in the mornings, and when you put your foot over the side of the bed on the floor, when it touches the floor, to say, "Thank you, God, for this good night's rest. Thank you, God, for the day that waits for me. Thank you, God, for the gifts of grace that are in me and in the people I love and in the community where I worship. Thank you, O God, that I am not alone, that I live in your world among your people." The cultivation of this attitude of gratitude will go a long way to changing whatever circumstance may have you on the shadow side of things. Just to say thank you already begins to make a difference. The Jewish rabbis had a saying called the 100 berachet. That means the 100 blessings. And this was something of a health strategy, both for the body and the mind. And the rabbi said, if you wake up or if you're in the middle of your experience or something has happened to dismay or discourage you, remember the 100 berachet. And what they meant was, look at your situation, say, I'm really not happy, and then begin to count the things you are grateful for. I'm grateful for the house I live in. I'm grateful for the safety and security. I'm grateful for my friends. And the rabbis proposed that by the time you got to about 13 gratitudes, you are already beginning to change the way you feel about the day. Gratitude is powerful spiritual medicine against the dismay that has infected our age. There are so many reasons for us to say, oh, I wish things weren't the way they are. And it's so difficult sometimes to say, thank you, God, for the way things are. It's a challenge, perhaps, when adversity comes into your life. Maybe it's a challenge when you take your axe and put it on the grindstone to make it good and sharp so it can cut down those trees that you'd like cleared from your property that you can sow some grain. It's a challenge, life. But in facing that challenge with gratitude, its hardship can be overcome. Now, I like the text from Colossians where the Apostle Paul is reflecting on his experience as a minister of God's good news. He has been going about from village to village, from city to city. He has gone through hard times. He's gone through good times. In one place, the Apostle Paul says, by the grace of God, I have learned how to be abased, to be let down, and I have learned how to abound. The Apostle Paul has realized that the meaning of his life does not consist in the circumstances of his life. The meaning of his life consists in the relationship that he has with the creative spirit at work within him and through him to bring benefits to people everywhere. The Apostle Paul speaks very highly of the people who have been receptive to his message. He speaks very highly of the changes that have followed that message. And as he gets to the end of the reading, he makes the clear distinction from living in the dark and living in the light. And that theme, the difference between these two realms, the realm of darkness and the realm of light, is picked up in the Isaiah text. And Isaiah notices two realms, the spiritual realm and the material realm. And what he encourages people to do is to not be so eager to pursue the material advantages of the marketplace. He's not saying there's anything wrong with good food. He's not saying there's anything wrong with shelter. He's not saying there's anything wrong with the basic necessities of life. What he is saying is, don't get caught up chasing those things. Remember that you are a spiritual being and that your true life consists in your spirit. So rather than devote energy to things that have very little significance ultimately, devote your energy to what really matters, the cultivation of your spiritual identity. There is something exceptionally valuable inside of each one of you in this room, young or old. And that valuable thing sometimes is lost. And the scriptures speak about that, about sin obscuring the meaning and the purpose of our lives. But Jesus, Paul says, came to set us free from that separation from the goodness. In other words, we now have the ability to enter freely into God's presence. We do not need to be embarrassed. We do not need to be ashamed. We do not need to feel that we are not worthy. It has nothing to do with who we are. It has everything to do with the goodness and the love of God. So I encourage you this Thanksgiving, as you participate in the family rituals, and we all have different ones, I remember one Thanksgiving, which is, I don't know why it sticks in my memory, but I had a nephew, and my nephew was about 6 years old, and we had eaten a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner. And after the dinner, this nephew was sitting alone at the table having his third piece of pumpkin pie. When all of a sudden, this young face looked up with a glance of just wonder, and he said, "You know what? When you've got pumpkin pie, there's nothing wrong with the world." And I'm going to paraphrase that young man. When you've got the grace of God within you, there's nothing wrong with the world. But if you have the sense that something is out of place, something is out of line, something isn't working for you, check in with your relationship to God. Check in to see if you are open to that heavenly sunshine which warms your soul, which enlightens your mind. I encourage you to step out of the mad race which we call modern reality. Step out of it and step into this quiet, gracious place of gratitude.